Three cocktails we sell about one non-alcoholic as well. So for example, this is a Lapsang Sojong kombucha, so fermented tea with a bit of smoky flavors, peach, ginger, vegan honey, plum powder, and then we recreate the effect of egg whites with methylcellulose as well. I love coffee a lot. But there's also some issues in the supply chain, so we try to look at analogs for coffee. So this one is a non-alcoholic espresso martini without coffee, and I think it's almost identical. So we use dried chicory root roasted, and then we fill up the missing flavors of the coffee mat with stone fruits, carob, and malt, and we shake it up. So another thing we wanted to really talk to our consumers about was like the idea that, you know, when, before people come to analog, they have this idea like, oh, plastic's evil, don't ever use plastic, blah, blah, blah. But we wanted to me, plastics is an amazing material because it never goes away. So why don't we take that and make it into something permanent? You know, things like 1,600 kgs worth of a bar top or different coasters and stuff like that. So I think that, you know, there's many uses for these things that we often toss away. So we wanted to show people that there was a creative manner that we can use these plastics. And also some of our tabletops are made from recycled plastic bottles. And we also use a material called mycelium, which is, I guess, a form of a mushroom, or what happens when you grow mushrooms and then you get mycelium. So we have some tables and lampshades and other things in the venue that is made from mycelium. Cool. I think that's it for me.
Awesome. Thank you, Vijay. You guys have any questions for Vijay anytime? If not, the good thing about being in Singapore is you can actually check out the bar for yourself. Go touch tables and stuff like that. And also, there's a guest trip we have tonight, right, Vijay?
Yeah, we have Little Red Dog. I love today.
So you're getting two birds in one stone. So that's the time to go check it out tonight. But next, again, give you some time to stew over the questions you may have. We have it at the end of the session. Next, we're going to have Ron Kong to talk about Mahanium and some use of the ingredient for alcohol. Yeah, you guys are going to need help and energy a bit. This guy survived Bangkok Bar was last night, okay? He flew this morning at 6 a.m.
6 a.m. is the time that I need to arrive there.
Oh.
So I take flight at 8 a.m. Sleep there with the crying kid. Okay, can I have the
Clicker.
how to use it?
The green button.
Okay, first of all, thank you, Bar Convent Singapore for having me. Thank you, Peter, for asking me to join this session. Glad to be on the stage with BJ, Alex also. Okay, for some people that I would like to introduce myself a little bit. Let's get to know me. So my name is Ronapon. Some people call me Nung. It's like for Thai people we have nickname. Yeah. Ronapon, Kani Ichapon, aka Pawn Star, because it's easier for people to call this name. So I got like the intro before, Global Winner of Bacardi Legacy 2019, Thailand World Class Winner in 2014 and 2017. I have on my journey, I started to open the first bar. It's called Backstage in 2016. We also get the list in Asia 50 Best for 5 years. And then in 2017, I opened Find a Locker Room with also the legendary Colin Chia from Nothing in Clothing here, Hidesi Ueno from Bar High Five, and Nick Lu from Bar Moon Taipei. And then the next year, 2018, we also opened Find a Photo Booth. And then COVID came, so unfortunately, Backstage and Find a Photo Booth cannot make it. When the COVID passed, 2022, I opened the fourth one. It's called Mahaniyom. That's we talk about this today. And then this year, I just opened another one. It's called Nuts Bar. So this is the restaurant I would say the bar in the restaurant, in the fine dining restaurant that I partner with Chef Don, chef owner of Le Du restaurant, which is got #1 in Asia 50 base. Also, this Nusba is in Nusra, is another his restaurant got #3 in Asia 50 also. Well, okay, let's talk about Mahaniyom. So Mahaniyom is Thai words. The actual meaning is being very famous and very popular. But this is related to Thai tattoo. That you see our neon tiger logo. That it's a kind of Thai old school tattoo. In the old time, when people do tattoo, like a monk do it for you, and they give you the blessing. So Mahaniyom is the bless of charming. So this is the meaning of that. We opened like 1 year and a half, and then we got number 22 in Asia 50 base, also the best new opening. We got in like top 4 in Best International Cocktail Bar of Spirit Award 2023. Same like Night of Peter, yeah. And then the latest one we got like number 19 in World 50 best. That is holding last month in Singapore. Well, yeah, I told you like Mahaniyom is the blessings of Shami. So talk about the idea of sustainability. Like I cannot like tell that our bar is a sustainable bar, but what we try to do is part of sustainability. We call it maximize our ingredients. So why we need to maximize the ingredient? Yep. So yes, we should save the cost, make less waste, less carbon footprint, give the respect of the ingredient, and also it's a part of sustainability. It's a trend now. Yeah, but is it the real reason of that? Like any reason is fine. But what I would like to say is we would like to do it because we intend to make it. Yeah. Yeah, I want to be hipster and make them look cool and then do the trend, right? But actually, yeah, like, I'm just kidding for that. Like, I want to make it something good with intention. It's a good thing. So sometimes people like kind of, yeah, are you really sustainable? You do like this and this is gonna waste a lot of that, use a lot of energy and this and that and those. But someone needs to make something, and we can see like how it's gonna be. At least we start, right? Well, so when we try to, our thing is when we talk about the ingredients and flavors, for me, we have like 2 ways to use it. So the first one, use it as a usual way that we consume it. Like, if you want watermelon flavor, you just drink the watermelon juice, or squeeze the pineapple juice to get it, or eat it as it, like a shot like that, to get the usual flavor. Or another way, you can use all the technique to change or transform or develop the flavors. Like, I think like many of you know like kind of this. We have a lot of things like you can do hot temperature, you can do cold temperature, you can do sous vide, you can make into syrup, you can make cordial, you can do fermentation, you can do pickle it. This is all the things that can transform or change the flavor of the original flavors. That's come to the idea of the cocktail in Mahaniyom. So I'm gonna share the video about like our idea and philosophy about like the cocktail of Mahaniyom here.
So what we do here, we have like a cocktail that we would like to focus. We call like resourceful cocktail. The idea is we pick one ingredient and then we extract the flavor through the part of them into one drink. So let's say like pomelo, we use all the part of pomelo. We use pomelo skin, pomelo leaf, pomelo juice, pomelo pulp, Pomelo Pit, everything from Pomelo. All Crown, that we use product from Crown. Beef fat, milk, cheese, and butter, kind of them. Let's talk about like squid, one of the drinks in our resourceful cocktail menu. So we use two parts from squid. We use dried squid and squiding. Let's say like we pick one thing and we see what we can use with that or from that.
So this is like short intro about like our idea of our menu that we call resourceful cocktail. Simple idea, one ingredient and in one cocktail. So we try to get the flavor through part of them, different part of them, different time of them, or different product of them in one drink. So here's our menu. We name the cocktail with the name of the main ingredients to make it easy understanding for guests. Like we have coconut, we have pomelo, squid, what kind of this. Totally now we have like 16 drinks in the menu. So let's say I would like to give some example for our menu. So the first one is watermelon. What we use juice, we use seed, and we use rind. I don't know why like D is below. Sorry, my bad. So this cocktail, the spirit is white rum and tequila blanco. I add fennel seed in that, and then we have white wine. For juice, we just use it as a usual way, like I told you before. Put it in drinks, and then for watermelon seed, we make orchard syrup with that. To get like kind of nutty flavors, and yeah, we have like put like some lime juice to balance the acidity in that. And the last one is the watermelon dry pickle. So like the whole watermelon, we can use mostly all of this beside the green peel outside. Coconut is we use coconut water, coconut meat, and coconut husk. So we have coconut meat. We roast it, and we put in aged rum. We have turmeric whiskey inside, Thai agricole rum, and then we smoke coconut water like coconut husk to get the smokiness. And the last one is like sea blight cordial. It's something like sea asparagus to give kind of salt in it. So we make cordial with that. Then you can see that a lot of things that we can use the technique to change and to transform the flavors. Like coconut meat, if you eat it fresh, if the fresh one it has like kind of sweet, nice. But then when you toast it, you got like the toasty caramelized flavor in the drinks. Tamarind from 28 Hong Kong Street. We have leaf, we have dried fruit, we have young fruit, and we have seed in the drinks. So leaf will give like kind of sourness in the drink. Ripe fruit, it can get like the sweetness, a little bit like sour also. Young fruit of tamarind is super tart. Normally for Thai, we eat it like it's sour like pickles. Yeah. And the last one, seed, is give like super dry tannin in the mouthfeel. So we put all of this in the drinks. So this one is kind of like Rock Roy plus Manhattan style with acidity. And then we serve with the pickled peanuts. That is, so nowadays I feel like when garnish and drinks should be like complement to each other. So when you sip the drink and get the garnish, and sip the drink again, it's complement the flavor to get another one. Yeah, and then like we have pineapple, which is like very common when you use pineapple. So I try to use a little bit technique in that. Also, we start with the leaf that we dehydrated and blend into like tea powder, and we put in vermouth. Based with gin with pear leaf. Pear is like kind of like local leaf. It's similar family with laksa leaf. And then pineapple, if you put like normal pineapples, you're gonna get like the usual flavor, right? So when we use technique of fermentation to make tepache with that, to get a little bit of funky flavor in the drinks. And then the last one is pineapple juice. We distill it with green peppercorn and we make cordial with that. And put all together, top with soda, something like gin fizz with like herbal and fermented flavor in the drinks. Well, so this is kind of like the idea that in Mahaniyom do in cocktail in our program. So we have like some other drinks also, like you see in the video, the pomelo. That is one of our showcase drinks that we use every part of pomelo. So we start from the leaf that we dehydrate it and we blend it to powder, and then we brew the tea with that. And then for skin peeling, we make Oreo sakram with that. For flesh, we squeeze the flesh to get the juice, and then the leftover we mix it with watermelon seed, black sesame, salt and chili, and bake it as a cracker to serve on the side. And the last part is the pomelo pit, the white part that gives bitterness. So we put in high alcohol with chili, dry chili to get like the spicy bitterness. So this is a kind of idea that we try to maximize the ingredient. The hard thing is, the challenging thing is, sometimes some ingredients, different parts still give the same flavor. So that's why we need to put like a technique to get different flavor in there. Okay, I guess that so that this is like our idea. If you guys have any question or Q&A, we go and do it together, right? Okay. Thank you so much. So this is yeah. Instagram, Facebook, email, OnlyFans. I don't have it yet. I will try soon. Thank you very much.
Awesome, thank you. Now we're gonna have, last but not least, the grand finale. We're gonna have Alex just to give us a quick chat about what he does at this bar, and it'll be quite interesting because most of you guys, as you can see, are from Asia. So we are not very familiar with the climate difference in Paris. So this would be a nice way to see how people tackle the same challenges, but in a very different climate. Alex, all yours.
Those of you who don't know, Le Director is a bar in the Marais in Paris. The Marais literally translates as the swamp, but it is nowhere near as swampy as Singapore. It's been open for 12 years. Of those 12 years, we've been in the 50 best bars for 10 of those. Most recently, in the last couple of years, placing 5th and 6th. From 2020, COVID, basically, we started working in what we describe as a farm to glass model. This is me, I'm the director of bars. That links to, I think, my social media, I'm not sure why. When we say farm to glass, what we're talking about is what would be commonly known within restaurants and dining as farm to table, which is an approach which puts the suppliers or the producers in the center of the experience, and we work directly with them. There's a load of nice words there about what we do and why, but it's really just a big cover story for an economic model which is meant to empower and better support the people who support our industry. I think in general, in drinks and cocktails especially, perhaps because of the interference of brands, often people may misunderstand that everything you eat and drink, without exception, is grown. If it is grown, it means someone took the risk of planning to grow it, and most likely as well, it means it came from someone's culture and someone's heritage. And the effects of the modern systems we live in have drastically changed those in the last 50 years especially. When we talk about what we do within Le Director, we've come to describe it as almost caring for an apple tree. We took this from one of our biggest influences, which is Magnus, who used to have a restaurant called Fabriken up in the north of Sweden. And he described having a restaurant as the same idea. You can have intention, you can have aspirations for what you want it to be, but ultimately if you do it well, it will outgrow you, it will grow quicker than you ever wanted, and it will last longer than you. And so you try and leave it in the best possible place, and it's also about growing the balance. So you can't grow the front without the back, the branches without the roots. And for us, that's a reflection of the brands we work with, the producers we work with, and the teams we have.
And when we started talking about working farm to glass, I don't think any of us anticipated how much it would change what we do and who we are. It's fundamentally changed the business, economically, socially. Everything we do on a day-to-day basis has completely shifted. I would argue for the better, but it is a very different bar. And I would guess that probably 6 years ago, most of the team who worked there would not recognize the experience, and most of those people might not even like the experience of working at the level now. But what I can say is that from COVID, we were 5 people, we're now 30. The bar only holds 45, so at some point we're going to have more staff than seats. But everybody, I hope, in the team has grown to love that, and it's a very different kind of experience. So like I said, with 45 covers, we have a drink with 10, menu with 10 drinks on it. 400 drinks is an average. It's about 600 on a Friday and Saturday, if everybody's working hard enough. 95% of those go through our menu. That says 80, it's actually, it's about 3 times growth pre-COVID now. And for context, I moved from London to Paris just before COVID, and it was the busiest place I'd ever worked in my life. I'd never been to a bar that was internationally acclaimed, that was actually busy. And every single day I would ring my now ex-girlfriend after work and say, it was busy, it was busy, it was busy, until she was no longer my girlfriend, because she said, stop telling me. But the reason why I bring up these numbers and everything, the context of it is to give you guys an idea that a lot of what we do within Little Red Door comes from a position of privilege. I was incredibly fortunate to step into Little Red Door 6 years into its lifespan. It was an established business that had an established brand identity internationally. But also, more broadly, we're a cocktail bar in Paris. It's arguably the most visited city in the world. We're in Paris, which is right in the center of France, relatively. That means we have access to probably the most influential agricultural nation in the world, with probably the most established drinking cultures and influential spirit categories in the world. That's a lot to play with, that's a lot to pull from, and it's a lot of reference points that other people can understand. If we were to place this in other areas, unless you would go to perhaps Mexico, I'm not sure you would have the abundance of very recognizable, very accessible ingredients and food culture to be able to pull on. But that being said, it was an amazing opportunity for us, and we jumped wholeheartedly into it. It was very much a process. We built the approach over 3 menus. It started during COVID with the first menu, which was called Grounded. We then moved on to Flourish, and then the latest was Evergreen. And on that process, it was very much a balance of ambition and pragmatism. When we started, we turned around to every single brand we wanted to work with, and we said, we want to work bulk, and we want to work direct. And every single one of them went, it's COVID, we have bigger problems, get in line. Some of them said, yes, we would love to, and some of them said, yeah, we can do that, it's fine. And so probably when we started in Grounded, I would say maybe 50 to 60% of what we sold was in bulk, or came from bulk. Now, there is only one product on the menu after 3 years of constantly telling people, this is what we want, this is what we want. There's only one, and the only reason is because the vineyard accidentally bottled it. And so we're like, well, it makes more sense for us to take it from you than to unbottle it. But the reason why I say that is because even with all of that privilege that we came into it with, one of the things that I think is so often overlooked is you want to see change in the industry you work in. You want to work in a place where sustainable solutions are a lot easier for most people. And we often think that, oh, we'll wait for Diageo to do that. We'll wait for EcoSpirits to come into my market. But EcoSpirits goes where its demand is. Diageo makes decisions based on what bartenders and bars want. The reason why things like BCB exist is because the people behind the bars have more influence than the average consumer. So you know you have influence, you know it intuitively because of the relationships we have in the industry, but very few people actually exercise that. And I think a lot of people underestimate how influential it is simply telling the person, your local rep, I want this, or if you could do this, this would be better for my business. Because most of it will go into a spreadsheet, which will go into a weekly report, which may end up in a manager's monthly report. But if everybody does that again and again and again, somebody high up who makes those decisions will go, you know what, this is probably an opportunity for us. Because the reality is pretty much everywhere in the world lives in a capitalist system, and you're not going to win them over heart and mind. You want to win them on their wallet. And we believe within the contracts of Little Red Doors, we managed to do that, because after about a year and a half, 2 years, people realized we just stopped working with people who didn't do it. And again, from a very conscious point of privilege, it's not that hard to make great drinks. Most people in this room can make a great drink. You define what parameters you set around yourself. So if you tell yourself you're going to only use products in bulk, you'll find creative solutions to make amazing drinks. But you have to decide what that line is. And we all set lines, and specifically in the context of this panel, we set lines locally, regionally, and globally. You know, we set the standards ourselves, but you can define those for yourself. One of the drinks that's a really great metaphor and really nice introspection onto how we find that balance between creating great drinks and staying true to our values, and probably the thing I'm most proud of that we've ever done and probably ever will be, is Walnut. Is one of our drinks, similar to when Ronald One described. Our drinks are just named after a single piece of produce that we focus on. The idea is to put the producer at the center of the guest experience. If you go to Little Red Door, you'll see our menu is a 2-page spread per drink on the producer and the produce. There is a tiny amount of information on the drink itself, but we hope and feel that's almost irrelevant. If you've waited that long to get in, you're going to order a drink anyway. But also the room is surrounded by large portraits of these producers, so you're very aware that that's the bit you're going to be paying attention to. This is Mary Elise. She's one of 2 sisters who runs a Noir company, which is a protected AOP, which is an appellation basically of produce you can find around France. It can be used for many different things depending on the region. But this is a specific one of walnuts. When we first started working directly with producers, most of them didn't want to work with us. Not because they didn't like us, it's because they were French and they didn't live in Paris, and so they said, why would a cocktail bar want this? The first thing they thought we wanted is to buy nuts for snacks. Most of the producers treated it with outright hostility, and the nicer ones were just very suspicious. So when we started working with them, the best way to do that was we just bought their walnuts. We said, great, you know, we want to work with you. If we could get rid of the packaging, that would be great. And we bought dried walnuts, the standard ones I'm sure all of you have seen and eaten before. And we use that to make a syrup, or actually we use walnut vinegar as well in a shrub. But for the next menu, after working with them for a year, we went and visited them quite a few times, and we realized that a lot of what they would sell in bulk was actually the discarded products. So the things that didn't meet AOP standards, either aesthetics or just texture-wise, and those would end up into 2 things. They'd either be sold as bulk walnut shards for confectionery, or they'd be turned into flour. So we said, well, let's buy that. Let's take that from you in bulk. We can do that. Tell us when you have it. We'll meet your needs. And that was a lot of the conversations we had in the first 2 years, was buying what we could from the best possible people, learning what their needs were, and trying to fit ourselves to them. One of the things we learned very quickly when we tried to design Grounded was that there was no point trying to make change and then engaging in the same systems we already had. We realized that we had to fundamentally change our business to meet the needs of the producers rather than the other way around. And the drink from Grounded, all of you could make overnight. I can give you the recipe, you can go home, you can make it today. Flourish, a bar with a well-established cocktail program, couldn't put that together. It was a simple long infusion and carbonated drink, and it was relatively easy. But then, about 2 years after starting working with Mary Elise and Sabine, I was sat in Milan train station trying to get to Roma Bar Show, trying to get a train. And Mary Elise rang me and she said, hey Alex, just so you know, your walnuts are ready. And I said, cool, what walnuts? She said, the green walnuts, you know, you spoke for the last 2 years, you wanted green walnuts. Well, they're ready. It's the middle of June. the walnuts area. It's like, okay, cool, great. How many? And she went, half a ton. And I was like, yeah, okay, cool. Which, for reference at this point, was not the first and has not been the last time people have sold me quantities larger than a ton or half a ton. But that was the most rapidly I've had to adapt to them. So we said, great, fine. Send it on the way. She said it already is, don't worry, it comes tomorrow. And then I rang our operations manager and said, Alessio, half a ton of walnuts are on the way, get ready. And he said, cool, what do I do with them? And I said, well, let's infuse them into something. And he said, what? And I said, well, whatever we can get our hands on. And very fortunately, because we'd also, alongside working with producers, we started working more and more directly with craft brands. One of the massive benefits that craft brands have over large brands is they are a lot more agile. They may not be able to beat the likes of Diageo or Pernod Ricard on price point, but they can always meet your needs much more rapidly. And it's what they're designed to be there. That's part of their ecosystem of brands and bars. That's what they're there for. They're the ones that move more quickly and find the opportunities to work with the most aspiring bars possible. And that's what happened with us. I rang a few different people I knew, and one of them happened to be one of the best Marc de Bourgogne producers in the country, which is kind of like French wrapper, but with a lot more expensive grapes. And we got a whole barrel of Marc de Bourgogne delivered in less than a week to our lab. And we painstakingly hand crushed all of the green walnuts, and then we infused them for 9 months in Marc de Bourgogne. And then after that 9-month period, when we were happy it was ready, we blended that with 1,500 litres of single vintage, single harvest red wine. Most of that then went into kegs, which was sold, and this is the latest version of walnut. And 300 litres of that went back into the barrel of Marc de Bourgogne, so that the next time we do it, we will have walnut Marc de Bourgogne finished in a walnut Marc de Bourgogne cask, so it will compound. And actually one thing we realised is that the Rhone Valley, where these are from, and Burgundy, where the Marc de Bourgogne is, a lot closer to each other than Paris is. And so this year, when we had our vintage ready, or our green walnuts, we got the majority of them sent directly to the Marc de Bourgogne producer, so that they could be infused directly, which saved a lot on the carbon footprint. This just gives you an idea of what I just described in terms of how we adapted as we went. But it was a very slow transition where we made a lot of mistakes. One of our staff members in his first month wasted €1,000 worth of tomato, which, for reference, that's a lot of tomatoes. But along the way, we found like-minded people to collaborate with us who helped us find the solutions that weren't obviously available before we started this process. This is also one of the consequences. For the last 2 summers, Paris and France have been unbearably hot, to the point where 2 summers ago it was literally on fire. And this was one of the photos that I got sent, and producers started speaking out to us directly about the issues they were facing. And it's one of the things that we put at the centre of the way we work is we sit at that forefront between, or the frontier between producers and agriculture and consumers and guests. We're the role that chefs can't be, unless you give them an excellent show, where we can articulate the issues in real time during the guest experience. And that's our duty. You know, if we want to keep having amazing products on the back bar and in our wells and just in the world in general, we have to advocate for the issues that they can't do, because they can't adapt quickly, they can't adapt rapidly. Permaculture farmers work 5-10 years in advance. And so when they face issues like COVID or global warming or any of the other issues that we're facing right now, they don't have a voice directly to consumers. And for better or worse, one of the most effective ways to communicate anything, be it culture, global issues, or just creativity, food and drink is one that almost everybody in the world can engage in. This is just something we launched, but I'll skip over this, it's not as relevant, but this is something we realized basically after those 3 years that system got too big. We were too busy, and all of a sudden the system we designed to meet the needs of the producers meant that producers we worked with couldn't produce enough for us, And so all of a sudden we started working with larger farms to meet the needs and stop supporting the people we wanted to. So we changed what we did. We last year launched it. By the end of this year, we will stop completely the Farm to Glass menu as it is, and it will only be the tasting menu, because this meets the needs of our producers better. And the challenge of meeting the needs of our guests is for us to figure out, and not for our producers to be involved with, basically. I think that's everything. Thank you.
So, 7 minutes for any questions you guys have. None. I have a couple questions for them first. But in the meantime, Vijay has brought a piece of his table for you guys to take a look at it. Please don't steal it. Also, like there's one corner away, of course, you guys. And also 5 coasters. I'm keeping count, okay? So make sure you get 5 coasters back, so you guys can spread around and take a look first. But anybody got questions off the bat, or can I start with asking some? Well, shout it out.
I can shout.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you for that. I work in very. Oh, there we go. I'm just curious. Sustainability obviously has become a huge thing in our industry over the past few years, but I think it's also important to talk about that accessibility is hard when it comes to sustainability. You know, not everyone is going to have access to rotovapes to distill their own spirits, or to have a prep team, or to have labs to work with. So I guess I'm very curious what your guys' advice would be, coming from 3 very different bars and 3 very different markets, of, you know, what advice would you give to smaller markets, smaller bars, new bartenders, new teams, on how to approach being a sustainable establishment when you might not have access to the resources that a lot of people do these days?
Who wants to go?
I think Ronald made a really good point on that topic, which was about doing the best you can, doing as much as you can in your concept. One thing that we say to the team at the Red Door, this is specifically aimed at the fact we have a lot of North American guests within France, is we don't apologize for what we're not. We're proud of what we do, and anything we want to be better at, we're the first to say it. And any kind of change compounds and is better than nothing. And when it comes to when people talk about what they have accessibility to, I think it's really important to understand within what construct. Because if you define a cocktail bar as a classic North American cocktail bar, then that accessibility is very difficult unless you apply global capitalism to the entire world, at which point those brands and those things that we say are accessible shouldn't really be accessible all over the world. And so being proud of where you are, and I think it's one of the things I've looked at Native so proudly as a fan for so long, is having that ability to say we don't have to be those things. We're who we are, we do it the way we can, and sometimes that means you have an amazing lab and you can do loads of different things. But if not, you do it with what you have, and you find the story within that. And I think the people who do those things best, they do that with a rotovap or with a lab or without it. Or I hope.
I don't have rotovap. When I went to VJ Lab, I'm like, wow. I think one thing it's about so when we talk about sustainability, what I believe is we need to sustain our business also. So the price of the rotovap and the world, let's say that in Thailand and Bangkok, our volume is not big. When let's say 400 glasses per night, if I can sell 100 glasses, I'm super happy. We do a firework, put out a champagne. So I agree with what we have. We just do what we have, and we try to use different technique and things. Even I do hydrosol. I don't have the rotovap, but I use water distiller. Which is only maybe 100 USD. This is cheaper, but it's not can control everything specific the temperature or the pressure like rotovap. But at least you can do something. And like I said before, we have a lot of technique that we can take the flavor out from the ingredients and transform it. So I think like that is it's our challenge that we need to go with that and challenge ourselves to make something that suit with what we have.
I think for us in our team especially, you know, and as we move forward, I think the word sustainability has almost become like a dirty word, you know. It's like it's been used so much and a lot of times for the wrong reason. So in our venues as well, like I always talk to our team, and if you look at our both our venues, we look at the idea of sustainability different and we approach it at different angles. So I don't think there's one certain way or the right way towards it. And also like with our team, we always talk about progressiveness. So the idea is like, are we 1% better than yesterday? That's all that matters to us. And if you look at our growth in our venues as a chart of the idea of sustainability, I don't think it's been an upward trend. It's been like up and down, up and down. And every time you change a menu, then you're dealing with new scenarios, and that's where we really slump and we have no idea how to deal with things, and it takes a while. So I think a lot of times for people who, especially young bartenders who are coming into this, the idea, there is a bit of pressure, like as a bartender, and from consumers that if your bar is not sustainable, if your bar doesn't have a photograph your bar, then it's not a good bar. So I would say like don't put so much pressure on yourself and just try to do one thing better daily, and slowly, like over time, you know, you get to really improve. And I think like I don't think like there's leaders in the industry for this. I think we're all a community. So there's issues that I'm working on that I could lean on these guys, and maybe some of you guys in the audience have some ideas too as well. So I think we have to work as a community. And number two, what I'll talk about is, I think for myself in the last 7 to 10 years, like really changing that mindset when we approach cocktails. For example, like we've been passed down information on like what's good and what's not good. For example, if you take a lemon, the juice is good, the pith is bad because it's bitter, but at the same time, we do Fernet Branca layback, which is bitter. So, like bitter in a citrus is bad, but bitter in a liqueur is good. So I think we've been thought about ingredients the wrong way. Instead of like looking at something as waste, like, you know, how we think about cocktails creatively, venue design creatively, why don't we look at every part of the ingredients from a blank canvas and sort of take it from there. That's what we try to do in our venues. We don't look at it as waste. We look at it as like, okay, this ingredient tastes like that. Where could I put it into our flavor blend? And we have one cocktail where we use like pumpkin seed pulp as an infusion into a spirit. And one of my staff were just asking me like, okay, we have to batch more of that cocktail because we need the pumpkin seed pulp for the infusion. And I was like, wait a minute, why don't we just use the pumpkin seeds we already have in the infusions? Like, they almost taste similar, right? But to create a cocktail, to create ways to have it as an infusion makes less sense, you know what I mean? So I think it's about really balancing it out and trying not to overthink things, and just take it one step at a time.
Awesome. So I know you guys have probably more questions, but we are unfortunately out of time. But these guys will be running around here. So whenever you guys get an opportunity, please reach out to them and ask them stuff. Ron Paul is here for another 4 more days. Alex will be teamed up with VJ and Analog tonight, so steal them then. And if not, you have their contacts, their IG. I can speak for myself is that these guys are more than happy to help. So shoot them a message. But other than that, thank you, gentlemen. Man. It's been awesome.
Creative and innovative approaches to upping your sustainability efforts